Okay, so we're streaming on Facebook for everyone that's watching. I believe we will be streaming in another 2 weeks with a guest, and hopefully we'll be talking about prop tech, venture capital, and kind of the trends there. But until then, and then we might be streaming also on YouTube and LinkedIn at that point. But for now, it's just going to be Facebook. So if anyone joins us upcoming, great. If not, it's fine. We'll still have this conversation. So let me kick that off, this off by saying, actually, me and Alex, we just got done with a WeFunder angel investor panel for about 10 minutes or so, and that's going to be uploaded onto our campaign page. We're excited for you guys to watch, because what the purpose or intention was, a lot of the startups in the past have had common questions angel investors wanted to ask and obviously get responses for, to help them determine if they want to invest and when they want to invest. So we were able to do that. It was moderated by My Swim Pro's founder, Faris Sabati, and it was super cool. He's on his third raise right now. He's already successfully raised twice, and this is his third time. And so, yeah, we're excited for everyone to be able to watch that. So regarding our WeFunder campaign, for everyone out there, I wanted to thank everyone who's already reserved. Thank you so much. Updates are going to be coming out here in the next few days on where we're headed, but we're also going to try to keep to these live updates every 2 or 3 weeks or so, schedule permitting. And basically, we just want to update our existing investors and also any future potential. So quickly, I think we're at around 125,000, but we are looking to really ramp up our marketing, really to get this in front of everyone, because under regulation CF, non-accredited investors, that means anybody can invest, even overseas, with a few countries on that exception list that we'll provide and share on our campaign page. And the minimum investment is $100. So with that being said, we're excited to post raise to launch our customized GIS map. Essentially, if for our people that are familiar with this or not, we provide these land use reports that essentially tell our users what you can and can't build in the city of Los Angeles and some surrounding municipalities and jurisdictions, but we're hoping to automate that. So these are manually done by our team. We adhere to a 1 to 2 business turn time, but we'd love to get that out instantly. So, and also bring on a lot of our developers that have already known and heard from us on what we provide, and they're super excited to see and use the map.
And let's not forget the search function on the map as well. Right?
Yeah.
Once our reports are automated, then you'll be able to actually search for properties with specific development rights, which I think is incredibly valuable, especially to our developer friends.
Absolutely. And so let me introduce, obviously, Alex, my partner and co-founder, Alex Irvine. We have Rachel, who was an outstanding summer intern. She is currently at USC, full-time course load. So, but she has, she's still helping us. So Rachel, and Marcus, who is a new hire for Irvine and Associates, but he's also been helping us on brickwork, learning the reports, working on the reports, and as he's quickly realized, also helping on social media on a lot of different fronts. So, it comes with the territory. We're a startup. We need a lot of people to kind of roll up their sleeves and help out in every way that they can. So welcome, Marcus. And yeah, I'm already impressed, super already a fast read, fast learner, already has a handle on the reports, and also writing articles for us. So stay tuned for that. Okay, so Alex, let's share. I think we've done a couple of these live webinars, these conversations before. That's on our YouTube channel, by the way. Please, if you are watching, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Links are going to be below. So, but we've mostly talked about, the product itself, some examples of some of our early users and how, we've been a part of up to, I think the number is 200 million in real estate transactions where a brickwork report was pulled, and a lot of the examples of the brokers using the reports. But we haven't really gone deep into land use and what's out there. So I'm so happy that Alex has joined. So Alex, let's talk about which of, there's so many updates. So which one do you want to discuss?
Well, yeah, I mean, so I think in terms of, what tools are at our disposal, right? And just to, as a quick disclaimer, the information that's provided on our brickwork reports, it is, we dig into, property specific information in terms of what is permitted on a property at its base, at its core, right? So when we say in a property, has a specific density, which is the amount of dwelling units that can be developed on that specific property, we're looking beyond what's permitted by the base zoning for the property. Like if there's some type of overlay or a specific plan or something else that is further regulating that site, then we will actually go into those files and obtain that information in order to provide a more accurate report. And then beyond that, in our reports, we provide what is permitted as like a by right. And typically that means in the state of California, and more specifically in LA County or LA, it means density bonus, the state density bonus program. In LA specific, we also have another tool called the Transit-Oriented Communities Guidelines, which was a product of a voter initiative back in 2016, I want to say, and it's kind of like density bonus on steroids, right? If you set aside a certain amount of units for your property, you are basically guaranteed certain amount of incentives. So whatever your base density is on your property, then you add, you add affordable, and you get, that times 50% or 60% or 80% increase of density. And then you also get, there's floor area, which is the square footage of your building can be increased. There's parking incentives where, certain properties are limited. Sometimes, some of my clients come to me. Just recently, I had a project where they were looking at a site that they wanted to put in 50 plus units, and they're struggling over the parking requirement. They can't get past, because the project is going to have to provide a certain amount of parking stalls, and they just can't, they can't include so many parking stalls within the the project for it to pencil out with the kind of density that they want. So within our reports, we provide this, this information, and we do that for a reason, because you're basically guaranteed this, right? These incentives with density bonus. There are density bonus, that program from a statewide level has been updated and modified, throughout the years. And it seems like every year now there's a whole slew of new Senate bills and Assembly bills that come through that provide new incentives. And a lot of times they're based on the type of project. A lot of the most beneficial incentives apply towards 100% affordable housing development. And we do have a fair share of affordable housing nonprofit, developers, clients that we, for projects that we work on here at Irvine and Associates. There are. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So I wanted to talk about a lot of these state assembly bills. There are new ones that have come through that were recently signed into law this year that people are already starting to plan around to take advantage of. There are Senate bills that that have already been in play and that people have been taking advantage of. When we look at properties, now mind you, this is a little bit, this goes a little bit above what we provide in our reports, right? Because it's a little, some of these cases require more affordable to be set aside on a property, you know, and there's other permissions, but let's just talk through a few of these. I think the two big ones that hit the news recently are Senate Bill 9 and Senate Bill 10. So Senate Bill 9 is a Senate bill that basically, you know, it applies to single family properties. And it allows for single family properties to be split ministerially, meaning no discretionary requirement. There's no, you know, official discretionary requirement that you have to go through in order to get that approved through the city. And there's no environmental document that has to be associated with that, right? So you have one single family property, one single family lot, and you can essentially divide that in two and then put 2 units on either property, right? So you now have just increased one family unit on one lot to provide 4 residential units. And this is something I think people, well, even some of my clients are already targeting. I'm even looking at some sites. I think this is going to really be beneficial for the housing crisis that we're currently in. And, you know, and even I forget the LA mayor's website has they did a contest where they did a design contest essentially to see how that could actually, you know, look on a property and how impactful that might be. And it really, I mean, you can really design a really high quality, you know, project on, you know, on a single family lot. So that's SB 9. SB 10 is something that provides the tools for local jurisdictions to pass an ordinance essentially without an environmental document associated with it. And that's very important, and I'll get back to that. But it provides the tools for a local jurisdiction to take that property, certain single family properties, it has to meet a series of qualifications, but that zone in general, and allow for up to 10 units to exist on that lot. And the reason I said it's important for, you know, for no environmental document is because oftentimes when there are controversial changes to, you know, to properties, whether it be property specific or citywide, that a lot of times gets met by challenges, right? Court challenges, opposition. People don't think that the density should be in these areas, right? And so when people are challenging projects, oftentimes they target the environmental document to slow it down, because that's what you can poke the most holes in. So so the fact that, you know, cities now have this in their toolbox to utilize is fantastic. It really just is up to those local jurisdictions to apply it. So those are the two ones that recently hit the news. Another one, I'm not sure how newsworthy this one was, but I like it. Senate Bill 478. This is called the Housing Opportunity Act. Essentially, what that does is again, you have to meet certain criteria, but the zoning cannot, the floor area. So again, the square footage, the size of your property, the size of your building rather, cannot be reduced to a 1-to-1. And in certain circumstances, then it goes up to 1 1/4. That is, it doesn't really seem like a lot. I mean, if you have, you know, a small lot, then, you know, then you theoretically would have a small square footage building. But it actually is. I mean, there are a lot of zones that are very restrictive and restrict the floor area, again, the square footage of the building, to a 1/4 or a half, you know, 1/2 to 1, the size of the lot, right? So, so this is also beneficial and kind of plays into, you know, these other Senate bills that we're talking about as well, right? Another Senate bill that has been around for a little while, but I don't think has been as widely used or as commonly used or known about, is Senate Bill 35. This one I think is absolutely amazing if it works financially for a project. So Senate Bill 35 applies a ministerial process to a development project that's mixed income, right? So you don't necessarily have to have 100% affordable provided within your project to get incentives that are equivalent to a project that is 100% affordable. Right. So there's, of course, it comes with a whole slew of requirements. But, one of these requirements is that whatever your base density is, meaning the base amount of residential dwelling units that are allowed to be constructed on your site without entitlement, right? Whatever that number is, 50% of that number has to be provided at low income.
Right.
Okay. So, and that's the minimum. But with that, you get a density bonus project, including waivers, development waivers, that is entirely ministerial and does not have to provide an environmental, a supporting environmental document. Again, incredibly beneficial because you can come into a property and you have to meet all these minimum thresholds, and one of those, by the way, is also prevailing wage, right, for construction, which I understand increases the cost of construction, but it also supports local hire. But you can increase the allowed floor area beyond 35% or whatever the restrictions might be.
Mm-hmm.
If you have basically a site that for example is limited to 45 feet in height, you can go beyond that to 60 feet.
Wow.
You can go maybe even more, right? I mean, it just has to correspond with the density bonus, the affordable that's being provided, right? It has to pass the smell test essentially, right? Does this added bonus justify does it allow for the construction of the affordable units? But if you have other requirements like an open space, how much square footage of open area do you have to provide to your residents? If that requirement is too stringent, then you can ask for a waiver or an incentive to get past that and reduce that requirement. Parking is also, there's no parking requirement. So you can have a project that, let's say 100 units, right? Without any parking requirement. Those are the big ones. I mean, open space, density increase, by the way. You can also ask for an increase in density using SB 35. This one, I think, probably hasn't been used because of the affordable requirement, but there's another thing that's associated with SB 35 that I don't think a lot of people know about, which is it ties into whatever the density is that's permitted under the general plan for your site. If that density is higher than what's permitted by the actual zoning, then you go with whatever's higher, right? So you go with the general plan as opposed to the zoning. And that in some cases can double the amount of density that's permitted just flat out by right on your site. There's another caveat to that one. Because they always come with caveats, these Senate bills, is that if there's any existing units on your property, even one that have been rented out, then you're actually disqualified from using it. So the properties that some of my clients are looking at are vacant, or commercial properties, or owner occupied, to develop on. So those are some
Alex, let's go. I think one clarification or maybe teaching point would be, what is ministerial in terms of land use and what isn't? Maybe if you could just kind of explain that.
Yeah, thank you for the question, John. That's a good one. So ministerial means there's no entitlement action. There's no public process or review when reviewing the development project. With discretionary approval, that's something that's not ministerial. That in its word is discretionary, right? There's some discretion that has to apply to a project within their decision making. And that once you become a discretionary action, then you also have to have a supporting environmental document. And I keep raising this because the environmental document is probably the single most challenged process in the state of California, right? When people
Right.
go after projects, they typically go after the environmental document. And so a ministerial is essentially, there might be some review, right, by the city to just basically check that you're meeting all the standards that you say you're meeting, that your project is meeting within the zoning standards, and any of those areas that you're exceeding, through the density bonus process, they're doing that check to make sure that you're checking all those boxes. But otherwise, you go straight to building permit, right, without that discretionary process. And by the way, especially in the city of LA, that discretionary process can take a very long time. I mean, anywhere between 6 months, which is the very short end of it, of a discretionary entitlement process, to 3 years or more, right? To process just to get past that one step, that discretionary step.
So discretionary is state's density bonus program, or TOC. So they've created certain discretionary bonus programs that is not ministerial, right? That's also another kind of distinction here that we're trying to clarify, right?
Yeah, I mean, what I'm trying to clarify here is a lot of this can be done ministerially, right? I mean, you have to meet these, you have to meet the criteria to be awarded the program, right? To actually use that program. Like SB 35, for example, the 50% of your base units as affordable, can't have any existing residential units on your site. You have to use prevailing wage construction. I mean, it has to be an urban area. 75% of your property has to be developed, of the boundary of your property has to be developed. If you qualify for all that, then it takes what would otherwise be a discretionary action and turns it into a ministerial process,
right?
Meaning, it takes that and makes it not be an entitlement,
right?
Which can, I mean, right now, as you can imagine, our housing crisis that we're in large part because of the development process, right? It's so convoluted. I have a job and a successful company as a result of the fact that it's so difficult to get past the entitlement process, and understand what can and cannot be developed on a site. It takes that and makes it ministerial. And I mean, you go straight to permits basically, right? And there's timelines, that are applied to these processes to help speed up and streamline the process.
Yeah, I'm super excited on our front for Brickwork with these changes that are upcoming, because I believe the SB 8 and 9 are going to be kind of state effective, I think, next year, January of 2022. But then that, of course, gives all the local jurisdictions and municipalities their own ramp time to now decide, right, if they're going to implement, what those conditions are going to be. Can you talk briefly on that process, that it isn't immediately effective, right? It now has to depend on the local cities and jurisdictions to, I guess, create some sort of guidelines around it, right? Or conditions.
Yeah. So you're right. These not ordinances, these Senate bills become effective January 1, 2022. And the local jurisdictions are, in large part, they have to comply, right? There's not really exceptions built in, and so essentially what they're trying to do is adopt policies and procedures to basically incorporate them and apply them. And I know that I saw a motion from the city of LA, for example, that they were looking at trying to potentially add incentives for SB 9 with a requirement of affordable housing, right? And that could be beneficial, right? Because I mean, you can take the Senate bill and add more incentives to it if you provide affordable housing on your project, what otherwise wouldn't be there. And so that's what I think jurisdictions are working towards. There's also I forgot to mention AB 2345, which is that's something that the city of LA already has a density bonus program built in that increases your density beyond 35%. It's already a process within the city of LA.
Mhm.
So the city of LA is essentially does not have to honor that portion of AB 2345. But other jurisdictions that don't have that are essentially your density bonus. Everybody knows, well, a lot of people know density bonus of an increase of 35%, right? So essentially your total allowed units to be developed on your property, increase that by 35% if you set aside a certain amount, right, as affordable.
Mhm.
Under AB 2345, you can increase that to 50%.
Right.
Increases that, right? And it also changed and added some incentives for parking, and also measuring the distance to a transit stop, taking it from the entrance to, if there's a parking lot nearby, then you take the entrance to the parking lot.
Yeah, so I think for all the people out there that don't have that experience with land use and layman, I want to just point out or highlight that ultimately, just if you want to look at things very, on a macro level or very general, not specific to the site or what you're building, the equation is where developers are trying to decide, okay, if we want to build this project, will it pencil? And the term pencil means, well, there's going to be a cost associated with the entire development, right? And you could break that up into pieces. There's the acquisition of the property or the lot or parcel itself. That includes all of the soft costs, which are getting it entitled, getting all the permits paid for, all of that stuff. You're going to have labor costs with the general contractor and all the subcontractors, and the actual cost of materials, right? And that's been increasing post-COVID, and it was already trending higher anyways. It just got accelerated because of COVID, and lumber shot through the roof. So all of these variables come into play whether or not it's financially feasible for the developer to build. And so if you look at it, a lot of the institutional back builders have a simple formula. The more units, market rate units, you could put onto a site and build, the more financially feasible it becomes. I know that's very simplistic point of view, but the difficulty is being able to have it pencil with less units. That's where a lot of the financial engineering goes on. That's where a lot of the innovation, or that you're a big developer and you've already, acquired materials at scale, at quantity, right? And you're getting discounts from that, will help you build less units. But overall, they're always looking to build more. And so what Alex was discussing, right, Alex, is that all of these new laws or ways around where you can put more market rate units is going to be more beneficial overall. Again, all boils down to site specific, municipality specific overlays that are coming to play. And I'm excited for Brickwork to be a part of this, meaning that in the future, when all of this gets adopted, we do want to provide this in our reports so that people are well aware of what they can and can't do.
Yep.
Okay. Rachel and Marcus have been learning. Do you have any questions or comments so far on what we've kind of discussed?
I guess I will chime in with a question. I just kind of wanted to know how Brickwork would kind of be affected by the new SB 8 through 10, I believe, bills, and kind of like where that would impact the scope of the work that it can provide.
Great question, Marcus. Thank you. So essentially, with these Senate bills, we are actively looking how to determine if we should create a new report, specifically addressing like Senate Bill 9, for example, that allows for certain single-family properties to be divided, and because right now we have our accessory dwelling unit report that includes a massing model as well. That that product, that accessory dwelling unit product, is still available despite SB 9, although you can't necessarily use them, or I should say, cities are not required to honor the accessory dwelling unit incentive if somebody uses Senate Bill 9, right? So there might be some circumstances, some jurisdictions which allow for it, but they're not necessarily required to honor it. So, come January 1, you might see a new report, or you might just see a modified report of our accessory dwelling unit. It might just be another button that we have in terms of what people can request. With Senate Bill 10, I feel like that's something that might get incorporated into our map, because that's really a local jurisdiction has to adopt it. They have to pass an ordinance in order to incorporate that, right? And there's only certain areas that that are allowed, just from a geospatial standpoint, that are allowed to actually incorporate that Senate bill. So this is something that, I think what we'll probably end up doing is offering some informational material through our site, in the coming months that, that addresses these Senate bills. For the most part, right now, a lot of, what we provide, is already available, and we provide in our reports, the information, the tools that are already there, that are currently existing. Like for density bonus, for example, you do get that 35% increase unless you're in a jurisdiction that can allow 2, 3, 4, 5 and get an even higher jurisdiction.
Like West Hollywood. All right. So, Rachel, do you have any questions or anything you want to add?
I guess just to comment is just hearing all these new bills is, I guess, just makes Brickwork as a company very valuable in my mind, because as a developer, you have to, understand all these little intricacies. And so having someone else who really knows what all those look like and how to kind of understand what you can and can't build, I think is really important. So yeah, I don't know if I have any questions right now, but.
No, that's super insightful. I think that has been the difficult part of us communicating that to our audience, right? Ultimately, because they're always like, well, what does Brickwork do? What do you do? What do you provide? And there's such a roundabout way, and there's all these terminologies that we could add to that explanation, but that's ultimately our value add, right? Is just letting developers know what you can and can't do. And there's just so many different variables and different new state laws and that are being incorporated. We'll always be able to manage what's updated, what's not, and keep you at least net an idea of what you can and can't do. So awesome. Yeah, I want to be mindful of time. We're about 40 minutes in. I think I just want to kind of close this off. I'm super excited to kind of share that ultimately, I think for everyone watching, there are trends right now that we're riding on, where a lot of capital, a lot of venture is focused on prop tech. And so prop tech is such a generic term. I kind of want to say that we are part of prop tech, but so is, Zillow, so Smart Rent. There's going to be, Internet of Things. So I think I was reading earlier today that 62% of Gen Z millennials actually consider smart home technology as something similar to a traditional amenity. So I think years back, the amenities are, hey, do you have a gym? Do you have a cool rooftop deck, right? And these are developers that decide with architects what sort of amenities we should design for and provide to be competitive, right? Because ultimately what you're building as an apartment, you are competing for that tenant, right? For that the person who's going to lease. And so, there's so much involved in prop tech that's coming out that we're super excited about. We are just in the very front end of development decisions and due diligence. So that's the corner of space that we are in currently in prop tech, but it's such a vast world, and I'm excited. Construction tech is also part of prop tech, right? So different ways that people are building, whether it's 3D modular builds, whether it's robotic arms that are painting, because I was part of a pitch event where the founder and the company that pitched right before me, and I was intently paying attention to, right, was a robotic arm that paints commercial buildings. And you turn it on, and interior only, obviously. They're not doing exterior at this point, but still saves, I think they were saying cost savings of 60 or 70% versus traditional. And so every bit counts when you're either building or you're just managing, like Brookfield, right? They're, I think, one of the world's largest owners of commercial properties, and they're also very intent on the financiability of these buildings, on maintenance costs, on rent row. And so that's all still part of prop tech. So I'm really, I know it's a term that a lot of people aren't aware of. They're like, prop tech, what do you mean? But I just want to clarify that. And we're hoping to invite someone prominent. I have a few people in mind that are in the space, have actively investing, so maybe they could come on and share with us some of their portfolio companies and the decisions. But overall, it looks like the projections are increasing, so we're excited to be a part of that. So anyways, I wanted to kind of touch on that subject as well. And with that, any parting comments or thoughts, Alex?
No, I mean, like just another big plug to our WeFunder campaign. I mean, if you guys haven't seen the campaign, the website, I think we'll include a link to that and a button to check it out. I mean, look, we've already built out our beta map for the city of West Hollywood. Very excited about this map, providing this information at an instant. I mean, all of what we talked about when our reports, it's a point and click, which is, incredibly beneficial, and our goal here is to help to level the playing field, right? I mean, we're very much pro housing, pro development. I think that we are in a major housing crisis, just everywhere, and whatever we can do to help support housing, the construction of housing, and through our site, people can log in and in the very near future, point and click on properties and even search for the right one, right? So, and a big thanks to all of our existing users and people that have been with us since the beginning. You guys are what makes our company, and be so successful. And we're excited to continue to build this company. So, thanks.
Awesome. And a big thank you to Rachel. I'm so glad you're continuing to help and work with us, and also Marcus as well. So excited for you guys to be on the team and on this journey as well. So thanks, guys, for giving us your time. Thank you, everyone. Click on the WeFunder link, please. Support us, okay? All right. Thanks, guys. Talk soon. Bye.